Alright, so German turn 7 is complete. Nothing of any great note. Building some rear defense positions here on the Polotsk front. Have screened here with some breakdowns spreading out my infantry division there, hopefully to slow this advance down, and then we'll be able to build up a stronger position here. The terrain kind of bottlenecks a bit with the lakes, but it is clear terrain, so not great positions to be defending from. We need to pull back here, as this is going to have to keep pulling back as well. We're holding on a little bit, because if we pull back too quickly here, our flank is exposed here. These two fronts are becoming one very, very quickly. Have some units out of supply here as well. Apochka lost its garrison unit there to an attrition roll. I had no supply left in there, so the Russians will just walk into there, and then they can turn their attentions here and to here. Actually, the Russians have a bit of a strange issue here. They have their guards infantry units here, but the focus of their attack, they want to be in this direction with their regular infantry, the regular army infantry here. So those two sides need to swap, really, because these are much stronger units compared to these low action rating and lower combat factor infantry divisions. So we'll be doing a little bit of a swap over there. It might slow the advance down, but there is some strong armored forces in this area as well. So, but the Germans really is the concern right now. Decided to take advantage of these hedgehogs. We could have put everything behind the river. Maybe we should have for force preservation, but the Russians can motor through, so let's try and slow them down step by step. Why waste the hedgehogs in pretty good terrain? We're concerned about a breakthrough near that Luftwaffe breakdown. It shouldn't end anything for us over here. It shouldn't be too bad, but we brought an infantry division to hold the road through this direction. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So, not a lot of force in Pskov here, just kind of what's holding the front line, but we have strong positions to fall back on with river lines and hedgehogs ready to go. Pskov is going to fall soon, though, I think. Can't hold for long once the attack starts coming. Poor planning on the Russians' part meant a lack of supply in this area. They could have probably attacked last turn had they planned it better, but hoping that we can build some supply up and start that this turn or the following turn in the Pskov area. Up at Daugavpils, pretty straightforward. Have some reserves ready to go. My armored reserves have moved back a bit so that they can support here and there if needed. Starting to build some forces along some bridged areas further towards Riga. Riga is ungarrisoned right now, really. We've got some screening forces further up the map here, but nothing that's going to do any major damage to this. But yeah, that's kind of our German situation at the moment. Tons of supply off map. I haven't been managing my supply very well in terms of moving my trucks around. It's a thing about being playing solo. You get a little bit lazy with that stuff sometimes, but they've been focusing on using their rail to move everything around instead of using the trucks. I'm sure I could have gotten a couple more supply points here and there, but nothing insane. We're not suffering anywhere as the Germans, so if it gets silly, then I'll just even it out. It's not a big deal. That's one of the benefits of playing solo as well. So yeah, looks good. Germans feel fairly good about their situation. Starting to get a footing, starting to get some reserves. Still a little lacking in this area with that, but we have plans to address that. So soon enough, hopefully we can be confident in our defenses here. So, all right, on to the Russians to completely destroy any confidence I just talked about. All right, so here we are, turn 7 after Russian movement. It is getting daunting to move the Russians. Yeah, it's turning into a monster, definitely, and there's more units coming on the next turn as well, up at that hex, that entry hex there, so not going to get any faster for me. Once the lines start to level out, maybe, but just trying to force our way up in some sense of order. is a lot of work. You can see the Russian Air Force has had some success with some DGs, even on the reserve artillery here. Failed a barrage on the reserve armor. But since we don't know if there's going to be a double turn or not, the Germans are a little apprehensive to commit that in their reserve phase, which is coming up now. So down here, this isn't looking threatened, so that's positive. This is, however, there's a large reserve stack as well. So that's only a breakdown unit supported by Hedgehog, but it's in clear terrain. Likely will be wiped off the map, and the reserves will swing around and cut off that pocket there. Just picking away at some forces here, not getting too aggressive, trying to reserve some supply. That's a big problem for the Russians right now. It's just they're getting decent supply, but it's so many places it needs to go, and focusing it up here, not supporting this hugely. That's why I am making the sweeping movement instead of trying to just kill what's in front of me. It's very weak, but let's take it out cheaply, not at a great cost of supply. So here we'll just do a couple of attacks as well. This is probably the best supplied area right now for me. It's probably 8 supply points or something close to that, just because I kept stockpiling it here. Probably could have used some of it over in this direction, but I was actually doing the opposite of supply that was coming in here, was getting trucked to these positions for our assault through. So, I mean, this was just sitting there, but it's benefited us now. We can just kind of push our attack here. And coming into this open area, it would be nice to have that supply cushion. So, nothing major here, just moved up to meet the German positions. Decided I am going to keep the Guards infantry here and support this with some armored units with higher action rating and whatnot. But if we can force through here, probably have some success. So Apochka was taken as well, since there was no unit occupying. So that puts us at 9 pop points, I believe, as the Russians. So we need one more. Yeah, we need one more to get a victory point. Or no, one more to meet the victory point requirements for this turn, which we may get in Sebez. And we're actually attacking up here, I believe. We failed our barrage, but we're going to make another attempt, I think. So, was about to open the Pskov front, but supply is light, and this is the one area where the Russian Air Force failed on all of its barrages. Reaction here might be a little deadly as well, as I've made some large stacks of Russian units here. Just the Germans can only attack 1 or 2, so we'll see where they go with that. May do a combat through here with the DG, and we have a reserve stack ready to go as well. So, okay, on to reaction, which probably will be a barrage here, and there might be some reserve artillery there, but I don't think we're going to waste it. And maybe that armor distributing into these positions, but not likely. And we're not attacking Dog of Pills, just the outskirts, so I'm not sure that supporting that is a huge priority. I mean, we would if we had the artillery, but the artillery has been DG'd, so... Okay, let's do it. Okay, so here's our situation at the end of the Russian turn, on turn 7. A bit of a mixed bag. Initially, we failed our attack here, took an option as a retreat. That's worth 2 pop points. That would have actually put us in good stead on this turn, but we failed to take that. The supply situation down here made any sort of really threatening attack unrealistic, considering the fuel costs and everything we have to consider now with multi-unit formations and independence. The fuel costs are just immense. There's some supply coming up, plus supply coming in at each entry hex each turn. But yeah, not what we'd like there, but they're DG'd. If we can get a double turn, plus with the supply coming in and their reserves not in great shape, we might be in with a shout here, at least to cause some damage. We won't be taking Dog of Pills anytime soon, but where are we? So here we've pocketed these units here, pretty straightforward. The Germans were DG'd prior to this, those two units, and they split off some breakdowns as well, so they couldn't have pulled themselves back. I would have liked to, but ended up being a speed bump here. So for our supply to continue properly, we need to either destroy those units or have them die from attrition. So that might actually work out well for the Germans. We don't like losing infantry steps like that, but we're starting to get more back in this direction, so we can maybe spare a little bit. Done all right preserving our force. So in the center, Seves was captured, and the infantry division in the open was forced back as well. So big cost on supply to do this, but inflicted some step losses, took some ourselves as well. But again, we do have a little bit of a supply reserved here as well. So nothing here. And here was a complete and utter failure. We were DG'd right there by the Germans, which was our main stack in our attack, plus our DG had failed. We don't really have the supply to fire some of the artillery. The attack on that DG hex there with some force failed because of a defender surprise with 6 shifts, ended up losing 2 steps to the attackers and did nothing to the defense, so not great. Alright, but that's it, so I'm going to roll for initiative now here and see what happens. Okay. Alrighty, so that will be German initiative. And to clear those DGs and reorganize a little bit, we will take it. Yes, we'll pull back from here, try and get some of these out of supply units out of there, and reorganize our defenses here, possibly. That works out well for them. They're also actually going to gain a victory point here. We're going to go back to 0. Yep, there we go. And the goal on this turn is 12 points. The Russians certainly are currently at 9 pop points, so they need 3 more. Excellent. That works well for the Germans. Very happy with that. So on to turn 8. Okay, so German movement is complete for turn 8. Nothing substantial. Just moving some supply around, flipping to combat mode, pulling back in some positions here, holding there. Survived an attrition roll on that stack, but lost 3 of our stacks here, plus a step loss on that 4th unit. So, yeah, fairly decent positions. Not great, but it's probably the best we've felt as a German so far in this game. So that means we're probably going to get steamrolled right now. So on to the Russian turn for turn 8. Alright, so here's our situation, turn 8 after Russian movement and barrages. Attacking 2 pop points up here, one worth 1 point there, and here for 2. That would put us where we need to not lose another victory point as the Russians, and we're down to even footing there. 0 VP for either side, so it's important that we can not get into the red here as the Russians. We can pull back a bit and see what's going on around Dogov Pills. We can make another attempt for another pop point here at Griva. Dogov Pills is looking fairly strong, but we have DG'd some of the units outside of that circle there. You can see the 2 DG'd ones. The Germans really thinking maybe the river line would be better instead of defending in front here. Because you can see the force here is absolutely ridiculous. Some of the barrage values, plus all the infantry that's in this area is insane. And we need to start covering these rail lines as they are now cut by zone of control, so we need to negate that as well. So maybe in our best interest to pull back or risk being cut off. Right now this is technically cut off, unnegated zone of control on the rail line there and there. So something to look at. Or let's start right here. kind of just putting pressure on here. We have to starve out one unit there, and then just in the hills in their weaker positions here, we're just putting some pressure on. Slowly extending our line out in the center here, about the same idea. So we have some units to starve out, and we're just starting to build pressure here. If we could deal with that quickly, then we'll be able to drive through and cause some real damage, as there is nothing back here. Yeah, so, and Pskov looks like it's about to heat up as well, at least right near Pskov as well. We got 2 successful DGs, killed a step actually in this hex. We were hit in reaction in one of our areas there, so my battery's about to die, so get on with combat, and yeah, looks like it might be bloody for the Germans here. The supply is not great for the Russians though, so we'll see what happens. Alright, here we are in Russian exploit. They failed to capture that 2-point city there, but they are going to be attacking it again in their exploit here with some reserves released from the 3rd Mechanized. 3rd Mechanized also going to be attacking here with some armored support. So that would give us 3 more VP with this one we captured here. Would put us to 13 and gain us another victory point. So it's going to be tough. This one should definitely succeed. This one, there's 3 steps left in that hex, so we might not be able to force it. We shall see how that works out. Down here, nothing really to speak of. Actually, you can see here, there's something dramatic happening. We broke through the line here, failed the DG, but decided to go for the attack anyways. The Germans didn't release reserves to support anywhere. Worried to commit them when we needed them in so many places. And worry of a double term looming, decided not to commit, and now we're paying the price, and those reserves are going to be attacked. So we've cut the rail line between Daugavpils and Resneki, I believe it's called. So that's not good. And where else? So nothing really here. Just more so this direction, the drama. We succeeded in taking a hex in the Panther line toward Pskov. We are now next to Pskov. That Luftwaffe battalion there is in Pskov, so lightly defended. So a double turn here. The Germans had committed the reserves already over here, so a double turn could be looming and could be very dangerous, with DGs on some German units in the area already as well. So yeah, going to resolve this drama up here. The only thing here though is we are entirely spent as the Russians. We have 1 unit in this stack here that actually had to go to low ammo. So tough, certainly. We don't really have time to sit back and wait for supply either, so maybe poor management of supply on my part, but we're not really flush with supply anywhere. So just have to consider my attacks a little bit better, I believe. But alright, so we'll get on with that and see if we can get some victory points. Alright, just finished combats in the exploit phase here. The German reserves, 2 AR-5 armored units, one of them being the Tiger tanks, managed to only need to take a retreat, inflicting a step loss on the attacker at the same time. So that's successful, and should things go well for us here, as in the initiative role, we may be able to counterattack in some capacity and clear that rail line. The Russians succeeded in their attack here, bringing them to 11 pot points, but failed here, traded a step with the defender. So I believe there's 2 steps left in that hex now. For the Germans, they have no supply remaining and are out of supply unless they can trace back. They'd have to negate his own control, and that's not likely. They may hold out and hope with their high action rating they can just maintain that hex. It's a city hex, so it's easily defendable, especially against these lead armored units as to what we've gotten this far already. So, but the Russians should be able to push for more points. This one here is undefended. That one's worth 2 with only an armored unit in it. We're getting closer and closer to Riga and closer to the German border. So not all is lost, but they have lost a victory point, and the Germans actually have gained one now, so the Germans are winning the game as it is. It certainly doesn't feel like it, but that's what it says. So, really nervous down here. I think it's time for a complete pullout from the Pskov area. I don't think there's any sense in defending it. I don't know though. I mean, we have a lot of great terrain to pull back on here, so maybe we fortify in Polotsk, or in Pskov, and pull back from the river, behind the river line here, because we just need to protect our flank. That's too much pressure, plus what's going on here, we have nothing defending this whole line. We need to start pulling back along these rail lines and getting into better defensive position, because this could be cut off very easily if this keeps motoring its way over. So, whoops. Alrighty, so I'm gonna roll for initiative now for turn 9. I'm glad I've made it this far. Turn 9 hasn't been a complete disaster yet for anyone, so alright. Let's see who wins for turn 9. The Germans hate having to keep taking it when they win initiative. They'd like to be able to say, oh, go ahead to the Russians, but it hasn't been that easy, so. And the Germans win and will take it. Yeah, they need to remedy some of their problems here. These DGs are going to be annoying. This is a challenge. I was actually drawing supply from Dogov Pills from this area. So there's no supply in the area at the moment. We can rail some in, but a bit of a pain in the ass still. One positive is the Russians failed all their train busting barrages this turn. So we have free reign in terms of using our rail. I'm going to roll for weather for turn 9 as well. Interestingly enough, I've rolled for limited flight, I think 3 or 4 times already in this game. So if we need to roll a 1, which we don't this time, so that means we could only use our aircraft in the combat phase. We're actually on a limited flight turn now, so we couldn't use an exploit or reaction or anything like that. So, alrighty, interesting situation. Germans get to go. That is good for them. In the interest of keeping the game going, it is positive as well. So, alrighty, that's it for turn 8. On turn 9, which will be the 22nd of July. We have some units coming back from a breakout earlier as well. So, sweet, let's do it.